Can you identify as a black person?
No,
Why?
because I'm not black.
I'm not a woman, but I can identify as a woman according to you.
If you transition, maybe.
What defines a transition?
If that's your goal, you know?
If you believe it.
Sure.
If you believe you're black, why aren't you black?
Well, that's just not, that's like genetics. That's like ancestry.
You're also born a man or a woman. It's the same thing. That's also genetics.
Okay, I'm over it.
When individuals with anti-white views, often associated with extreme woke ideologies, are confronted by those who oppose their beliefs, the resulting interactions can be intense and revealing. This video delves into such scenarios.
And you know that's like an ignorant way to stand, right? Like,
why?
You're over here, I tell you.
I'm actually half
that's
handicapped, so that's very offensive that you said that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I can probably tell
I'm
that
super
you're
offended,
into it.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So lying and being a high conflict is part of your personality disorder. Why are you looking at women with your fucking eyes?
Are you a woman?
Oh my god, so you...
Oh, I didn't even know, I'm sorry.
non-binary, so it doesn't really matter.
Hey, that's why I asked. I was trying to be polite.
A man employs sarcasm to mock the flawed reasoning he critiques, pretending to be offended and making exaggerated claims. This satire aims at how some people overreact or misrepresent situations, especially those involving public figures, which often garner significant media attention.
I am not being racist, but whenever I go back to the UK, I will always ask an Asian person to help me take the photo. And that is because they are better picture takers than us Brits, and they put in much more effort. This is what will happen if I ask a British person to help me take a picture.
See, already you can tell he doesn't give a shit. No effort whatsoever. He takes one photo, and he's off. Doesn't even let me check. Unbelievable. As predicted, a crap photo.
But if I ask an Asian person, this is what happens.
Oh my, look at that enthusiasm. She's even directing me and suggesting angles. I'm done, but she's not. Wow, she's on the floor getting the money shot. That is what you call commitment.
A man discusses his preference for asking Asians rather than Brits to take his photos, stating that he finds Asians put in more effort. He shared this story humorously, but clarified that his view is based on personal experience and should not be seen as a stereotype.
Like, there's toxic masculinity, and I feel like that's usually when I look at a person, I'm like, okay, that, like, the masculinity is showing, you know? That's why I'm like, in moderation.
Wait, so you're saying when masculinity is apparent or showing, that equals toxic masculinity?
No, it's just sometimes it's like a little excessive, and that's usually when I like notice it.
What is excessive masculinity?
You know, like, oh, I need this like big old car. It's like, okay, you're compensating for something.
Compensating for what?
A lot of things, I can tell you that much.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. List it.
I mean, probably like their low self-esteem and maybe their tiny dicks. Can I say that?
Sure.
Okay.
Tiny dicks. So do women who want nice cars, do they have loose pussies?
No, they got taste.
Oh, so it's only bad if men have a desire for material goods?
No. These are all just like really misogynistic. I don't necessarily need a man to tell me. I also have females who can support me. I feel like women and men can both provide that.
Wait,
So
what is misogynistic about his statement here?
Well, I don't know why it has to be a man.
How do you define misogyny?
I don't know. I don't like this.
What? I'm just asking how you define misogyny.
Can I go?
Are you okay? Like, do you want to go as in leave? Is it because I asked how you define misogyny?
A feminist on a podcast shifted from criticizing men to becoming emotional when asked to define the term misogyny that she frequently used in the conversation. When pressed for a definition, she struggled and eventually asked to leave the discussion.
I am going to spend the next minute screaming, because that is what is going on in here. That is what the trans genocide in this country, in this city, has brought me to. I hate a lot of people on this board for the reasons that led up to Banko Brown's death. There's a lot of performative people on this board who will say one thing in support of Black people, homeless people, trans people, and then immediately stab you in the face, being racist, transphobic, anti-homeless. So I don't have any words prepared today. I just want you to feel our pain. I don't know if you can at this point based off your policy choices, but I have to pretend you have some form of empathy left. So I am going to spend the next minute screaming, because that is what is going on in here. That is what the trans genocide in this country, in this city, has brought me to. Imagine that! I hate this! I hate what you've done to us! I hate what you're doing to us! I hate you, Board of Supervisors! I hate you, London Breed! I hate you, Jenkins!
Hold D.A. Jenkins accountable!
Hey, man! Cowards!
An LGBTQIA+ activist screamed at the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, expressing anger over the treatment of trans people and accusing the board of hypocrisy and failing to protect marginalized communities. The activists emphasized their pain and frustration, attributing it to ongoing issues like trans genocide in the city.
This is crazy. They should not be raising taxes in the middle of an inflationary crisis. Give your head a shake. This is not a game. That is what each of the members of the Liberal backbench should be saying, is they have to do something to actually address the inflationary crisis. And taking Canadians' loaf of bread and trying to give them a few crumbs back and say that that's good enough is not good enough. And it has to stop. And Canadians are sharing this message. They're telling people, even people that have voted Liberal for the Liberals in the past have said, we had enough. We've had enough of, as one of their backbench said, this woke stuff. They want solutions. They want a solution to the problem. We should have energy sovereignty. We shouldn't be waiting for OPEC Plus to raise or lower production and raise the cost of energy on us because we don't have energy sovereignty here. They should be addressing the labor shortage instead of making it easier for people in upstate New York.
A conservative MP criticizes the government's handling of inflation, arguing that raising taxes during this period is a mistake. He claims that the government's limited relief measures are symbolic and fail to tackle the root causes of inflation.
To skip the line into this country, they should be addressing the fact that we have the poorest levels of service in government programs in generations, while it is impossible for people to make ends meet, Mr. Speaker. And we should all have had enough with this cabinet and this government's failed approach to economic growth while our country stares down the barrel of a looming recession. And it's this government's problem. They have failed to repatriate manufacturing. They have failed to inspire investment in our country, and they are making it harder for women in my community to put loaves of bread in their cart. And I've had enough. And people in this place have had enough, Mr. Speaker. And people across this country have had enough.
The MP also condemns the government's focus on woke issues instead of practical solutions. He calls for energy independence, addressing labor shortages, and improving government services, while blaming the administration for poor economic growth and lack of investment.
Walk me through what happened, and please be specific, okay?
Okay, so I had just eaten this vegan dinner, and it was really bad. It was miso tofu, and there was this coconut bacon on top, but it was bad. It was soggy, and it was
No, ma'am, the incident. How did it transpire?
Well, I was turning this corner right here, okay, and then they punched me in the face. They took my Goyard bag, and then they flashed me their penis.
It's okay, calm down. Did they look homeless?
Why would you assume that? Housed people steal things too.
Not really. How many people attacked you?
One?
One? But you just said they.
Yeah, I'm being gender neutral.
Ma'am, I'm conducting a serious investigation. I need you to be more specific. You were attacked by a single male.
I don't know what they were.
But it was one person.
Yes, they were one person.
And you said he flashed his penis at you, correct?
No, I said they flashed their penis at me.
A person with strong progressive views reported a crime, leading to a complicated situation. She began by discussing a vegan dinner before mentioning she was punched, robbed, and flashed. The officer struggled to get clear details, particularly as she insisted on using gender-neutral pronouns for the attacker.
So it wasn't a male penis?
I don't know!
Okay, this is, what were they wearing?
Honestly, they were dressed like a victim of this capitalist society.
Right. Did they have any facial markings, tattoos, scars, beards maybe?
They had a beard.
Great, so it was a male human.
Oh, for fuck's sake, I don't know. You leave me in the desert for 2 weeks and I'd come back looking all Duck Dynasty too.
I'm not following you.
Women can have beards. What are you gonna do if you find them? Are you gonna put them in a custody suite?
Ma'am, I will say this one more time. I'm conducting a serious investigation. You need to be more specific. What did the person look like?
They were white. Oh, they were so white. They were white as snow, white as a fucking marshmallow, white as rice.
Okay.
White like a cotton ball, white like a bone. Just really, really white.
So maybe they were transracial.
What do you mean?
I don't know, maybe a black person stuck in a white person's body?
The conversation took a bizarre turn when the officer sought a clear description. The woman insisted on political correctness and questioned the officer about the consequences if the attacker were caught. When asked for a description, she described the attacker as really, really white and suggested they might be transracial.
So I challenge every liberal backbencher here today, tomorrow morning is their caucus meeting, to stand up and say what that one person said off the record to a reporter. Enough with the woke. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I take that back. I apologize for my unparliamentary language immediately. I'm very sorry. Enough with the woke stuff. And get on with the plan. And it's right to be passionate with this because we have to do better things to protect Canadians from inflation.
I appreciate the...
He intensifies his critique by stating that even former Liberal supporters are growing tired of woke agendas. He calls for practical solutions and later apologizes for his choice of words, but maintains his stance for the need for a solid plan to combat inflation and economic challenges.
Protesters in the streets and on social media continue to demand an end to racism and racial injustice since the death of George Floyd. But over the past 49 days, some have struggled with how to help or what action to take next. Our Danya Backus reports on one group trying to get all Americans to be part of the change.
In the days after George Floyd's death,
Black Lives Matter!
Multiracial crowds poured into streets around the nation in protest of social injustice. Erin Haney understands the outrage.
There's no such thing as not racist. We need you to be anti-racist.
She's the director of Showing Up for Racial Justice, also known as SURGE, a multiracial activist organization committed to anti-racism. They focus on calling in white people to support racial justice and work in alliance with Black and people of color-led organizations.
I think it's really important that all of the work for racial justice is grounded in the vision of Black leaders.
Since George Floyd's death, protests and social media campaigns for racial justice have surged, leading some to question how to contribute effectively. Showing Up for Racial Justice, SURJ, aims to involve white individuals in anti-racism efforts. Erin Haney, SURJ's director, emphasizes that combating racism requires active anti-racism rather than just avoiding racist behavior.
In this country. And we know that white silence is one of the greatest barriers to winning that transformative vision that folks have set.
With 125 chapters across the country and world, SURGE is predominantly led by white people who are having hard conversations with other white people about race and injustice.
Racism isn't a Black issue, it's a white issue. We need to be organizing amongst ourselves to do the internal work.
Adam Smith is an organizer for the Los Angeles.
Haney highlights the importance of aligning anti-racism work with Black leaders' visions and warns that white silence hinders progress. SURJ, which has 125 chapters worldwide, is led by white people, but focuses on encouraging white individuals to engage in discussions about race and injustice. Adam Smith from the LA chapter adds that racism is also a white issue. And SURJ hosts monthly dialogues and an annual Unmasking Whiteness Institute to build solidarity.
Surge chapter, White People for Black Lives. In addition to political activism, they help host monthly dialogues and an annual Unmasking Whiteness Institute.
For white folks, it's important for us to think of this fight as a fight in solidarity, right? Not a fight in charity, like solidarity, not charity.
Justice!
Both Haney and Smith say they're working to channel people's feelings of "I just want to do something" into useful action. And they're hopeful this moment will continue to fuel a movement for lasting change. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Both Haney and Smith aim to turn the public's increased awareness into actionable change, believing that these efforts will contribute to a lasting movement for racial justice.
In today's polarized world, is feminism dead? I saw your hand.
I think that depends on the definition of feminism. I strongly think that feminism is more of an action than an identity. I would say it's uplifting all women, in which case it's very alive. At the same time, if we do follow that definition, feminism has splintered off into so many different areas that you can look at people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another nanny if you feel oppressed. And if we're talking about that kind of feminism, yeah, it's pretty dead.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
The relevance of feminism today depends on how it is defined. Some see feminism as an ongoing force for empowering women, maintaining its significance. Others argue that it has fragmented, with some factions focusing on individual rather than systemic solutions. For example, figures like Sheryl Sandberg advocate for personal strategies, such as hiring additional help rather than addressing broader issues of inequality.
Pearl Davis has racked up a legion of online followers and plenty of breathless newspaper coverage by sharing her incendiary views on modern feminism. The New York Post called her the female Andrew Tate. So she tapped into genuine female pushback to the excesses of wokery, or is she just an attention seeker? We'll find out in a moment. But first, let's take a look at the clip that sent her viral.
A lot of people think I'm insane because I don't think women should vote. Everybody thinks I'm crazy for this opinion. If anything, this is probably my most extreme opinion. 90% of women have been on birth control. 1 out of 3 women has had an abortion. 1 out of 3 women has an STD. Average body count is over 5, so that your average wife has slept with over 5 people. 95% of women are not virgins on their wedding days. So I understand the complaint.
OK, well, Pearl joins me now alongside political journalist Ava Santini, who was nodding furiously along there to everything she heard. Right, Pearl, you've been called the female Andrew Tate. How do you plead?
Paul Davis has garnered attention for her controversial views on feminism and women's rights, with the New York Post comparing her to Andrew Tate. Her provocative stance has sparked intense debates, challenging contemporary feminist perspectives.
Well, I take it as a compliment. You know, I'm a fan of Andrew Tate.
Of everything he says?
It depends what we're talking about, but overall, I think he's got a good message. I think he's good for young men.
OK, look, you're talking about women predominantly, which is why you've got this big following. And your view is that modern feminism is deeply flawed. I would argue a lot of your proposals, like taking the vote away from women, are deeply regressive. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to remove, just from yourself, the right to vote?
Well, what happened was I had the same view, right? Back when I started, I was like, why? I found out that only 5% of women wanted the right to vote.
In a recent viral clip, Davis argues against women's right to vote, using statistics about women's health and sexual behavior to support her view. She suggests that modern feminism has led to societal decline, noting that many women once opposed voting rights out of fear it would disrupt family structures.